So currently the project is it considered a pre-alpha? Is that what it was at?
Yeah, so I'm calling it pre-alpha because I don't know what alpha means, and
Fair enough.
I don't know what I don't know what the difference would be. So I'm just I'm saying pre-alpha because I feel like it's enough to basically I don't really like the idea of people trying to use it right now,
Sure.
because I don't want them to be disappointed.
Mm.
And so I'm just using the word pre-alpha because I've heard about it as a phrase, and I feel like it's enough of like a kind of a speed hump. If you're going to be reading the description of the project, you go, "Oh, pre-alpha. Oh, not an alpha." I feel like that's hopefully enough to make you kind of go, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's like some special state that's like not ready to." I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get what
It
you're
probably
saying.
makes sense.
It's sort of like
Um,
you don't want people to go into it expecting it to be a full release, and then they try it and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
this is missing, that's missing. It just crashed. Why did
yes,
it
definitely,
crash?" All of this stuff.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's it. I mean, I'm calling it pre-alpha because I feel like people expect alphas to at least be usable in some way. I think,
Hmm.
um, because of the game dev industry, I think that's normal
Oh, the
terminology.
game dev
There's,
industry
for
has
instance,
completely ruined terms like alpha and beta. Like you get
yeah,
it's a week before the game comes out. Here is the open beta. Like, no, that's a demo. Shut
yeah,
up.
and I feel like that's unfortunate, but I guess it's just kind of the world we live in now. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to fit into that world by using terms like pre-alpha. Pre-alpha is basically, um, it's not. I don't have it in a state which I feel like is a cohesive experience yet.
Mm.
Um, I would put it into alpha. So alpha for me is like it's it's featureful enough to be used as a base experience, but I
Mhm.
don't think that I don't actually trust or really feel like anything really works, and I have no idea.
Mhm.
um, because it's not been used enough in that state yet. And then I think maybe a beta is like I don't know,
Beta
like more
generally
heavily used.
means like feature complete.
Yeah, I guess so. Although, yeah, maybe that's true. Anyways, so I guess it kind of leads onto the state of the project. So it is
Yeah.
in. I'm calling it pre-alpha because the way it's currently set up in terms of a project is it's kind of a big. It's currently in a big. I'm doing basically a big move right now.
Mm.
Um, so the way that it started was me just kind of, which is kind of the way I do everything really. I was just doing the easiest low hanging fruit things. Like I need a way of rendering text.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I need a way of being able to input text. Okay, cool. And so I was literally just doing the most naive options available, like implementations, just as simple as possible.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Obviously the as I was adding more things and doing more stuff, the project's kind of grown in complexity and layout of the code has changed, and so um, I mean, I guess a good analogy is I was moving from I was implementing basic motions the other day.
Mhm.
Well, I say the other day. This is like 8 months ago or something. And I was like, okay, I'm getting fed up now of the way that we're storing the document in memory.
Mhm.
So I know I'm going to move to something called a gap buffer. So I'll just
Mhm.
migrate all of the code we currently have, and all the new code we're going to be adding. I'll just make it, instead of it being a list of strings, which is literally, I said the most naive thing. That's literally how it works. It was every document line was literally a list an entry in a list, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
The dumbest thing you could possibly do, which is really bad for lots of different reasons, but also really good at the same time. It was
Mhm.
really straightforward to work with at the beginning. Anyway, so I started migrating to the gap buffer, um, in order to making basic motion support easier for me to do. Um, then I was like, one day I was like, hang on, I'm, we're kind of in this big halfway state now between quite a lot of stuff being moved to the gap buffer, but also quite a lot of stuff not being moved to the gap buffer yet. I've got
Mhm.
two comments all over the place. There's lots of fixed me's everywhere. I want a way of being able to just quickly find all the to-do comments in the project, right? So I started adding a to-do modal thing,
Mhm.
which I then did. Um, but then I was like, well, actually, I want to be able to select a specific comment in the list. When I hit enter, I want it to go to that document, and then I want it to center that specific line on the in the document.
Mhm.
Um, then I was like, well, actually, the existing document renderer doesn't support being told to jump to a specific line
Mhm.
independent of the user input. Um, so I was like, oh shit. Okay, well, I need to fix that. But then I was like, well, actually, I can't fix that easily
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
a lot of the code assumes that isn't possible or something.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, now I need a new document renderer. So I then started working on a new document renderer. And then I was like, well, okay, well, now I'm making a new document renderer. I should make the I'm probably just this is just this day-to-day development stuff, right? But I think this is
No,
a good
like
example
I
of like
totally understand what you're saying here. Like every single thing
anyway,
you try to do creates like five
yeah,
more to dos.
Exactly. So it's like it's 8 months running, and I still haven't migrated to the gap buffer yet. So I guess it is useful to finish the thread though, just because I feel like it's a good summary of like where the current state of the project is. So anyway, so yeah, new document renderer, and I was like, well, okay, I want to change the way the syntax highlighting works because the old way wasn't that good, and you know, I've gotten better at using V now and stuff. Um, so then I was like, okay, well now the new document renderer is basically finished, right? Great. Oh, but now I'm seeing rendering performance problems because now I'm doing like way more granular renders. Like I'm because the syntax highlighting has changed. I'm now making like probably 20 times more individual render calls to the way the rendering works. So now it's flickering on like every terminal native in existence, including especially Windows. Like Windows is the worst. And so then I spent the last like I don't know how long, like maybe the last month or something, just trying to fix the rendering problem. So like performance with rendering was a pain in the ass, and the way that rendering works is like it's like immediate mode style. So you know, like I'm GUI. I think it kind of it's like the de facto representation of like how you do immediate mode design or rendering. It's like you kind of so for a good example is in the code for Lily, when we render text, we basically flag a color on in like the palette, and well then all subsequent text that's drawn is then set to that color, and then you turn off the color and then you keep drawing or whatever. Having that way of rendering was actually a very good foresightful like choice because moving from the old document renderer to sorry not the document renderer, moving from the old rendering system to the new one was actually for most of the editor it was like it was a one-line change in the main file. The rest of the editor doesn't have to care. It renders the exact same way as it does before, but it's way more efficient now and it's much better. Anyway, so that's kind of pretty much where we are now. I've just finished doing the re-rendering stuff, so now rendering is now fixed again, so it's really fast. And then I'm just adding a few things that are missing for the new document renderer. Then when the document renderer has been swapped to the new one, I'm going to try to go back to doing that to-do modal thing. And then once the to-do modal thing's done, I can then use that to help me complete the gap buffer migration stuff. So anyway, all that to say is I'm open to people trying to help me with anything, but I have to warn anyone that's going to try and look at it. The code is in a sort of halfway house state.
Right.
Everything I've gone out of my way to make sure that nothing's existing is broken as much as possible. Like there are if statements in places I wouldn't normally want to have an if statement, for example, that kind of thing. So everything still technically works. It's just there's two different branches. There's some stuff that like when you do a document edit, it will either go to the gap buffer or the regular the old way of doing it, depending on what configuration flag you've set. Because that's how I'm trying to try out the new implementation and everything. But I mean, yeah, there is. You can follow the through. Everything kind of still follows the same flow. It's just some stuff goes to some places, some stuff goes to other places, and it's all a bit slightly. I'm trying my best to get to a point where I can just flatten everything out again and tidy it all up. So I don't know how long that's going to take me. Hopefully, not that long. Now that I've finished stuff, and I'm also able to focus on it full time now. But for at least the time being, anyway. So yeah, I don't know. Sorry for rambling again. I don't know.
Totally fine. How long has the project been a work in progress for?
So I started working on it. I think it's been such a blur. I think maybe 2.5 years or something.
Okay, so quite a while now
to say. Yeah, actually, yeah. And I remember loads of the initial wins and gains were like within the first few weeks. Not even that, probably some of the first few days even. And then I feel like for lots of different reasons, the project did stagnate for maybe about a year. And I think a lot of that was because I got obsessed with MMO Minecraft servers for a while.